Welcome to the Premie Pod, the podcast dedicated to sharing the powerful, inspiring, and often emotional stories of families and healthcare professionals navigating the world of premature birth.
Whether you're a parent, a healthcare worker, or just someone looking to understand the journey, we're here to offer support and insight, one episode at a time.
So tune in as we dive into real experiences and explore the strength of the neonatal community. Please note, the views and experiences shared on this podcast are personal and not intended as medical advice. Always consult with healthcare professionals for guidance specific to your situation.
Hello and welcome back to the Premie Pod. Today we have Rikki with us and we'll be speaking a bit about infertility, IVF and premature birth. She has a son called Tatum and he was born at 24 weeks. So Take it away.
Hello.
Hello.
So
start at the very beginning. So go through your infertility, but even like what led to infertility for you, and then through your pregnancy journey.
Okay, so from like my very first period at I think I was about 13 years old when I first got it.
Going way back.
Yeah. So
the very first period. We're starting day one.
Well, it has to, because that was like when I got told you were going to have trouble.
Wow.
So I think my mum took me. We were only talking about this the other day.
I love you, Mum.
Oh, she's so sweet. I know.
Sidebar.
I'm so lucky. She took me to the doctor because I bled for a whole year from my first period.
At 13 years old.
So I was 12 when I first got it, but I was 13 when I first seen my first gynecologist. And it all pretty much stemmed from there. I woke up one day just sick, and I was just been sick ever since.
Yeah.
So when I first met Chris, it was like a bit of a conversation saying, I've been told that it's probably going to be a long journey to fall pregnant. And
Is that what they said like when you're 13 years old? Did they do anything or did they?
So
what tests did they do?
No tests, nothing. Nothing was really done until I started trying for a baby.
So they didn't diagnose you with anything?
No. So I was put on a menopause tablet pretty much to stop my bleeding, because they're like, my mum had previous bad periods, early hysterectomy, so she was thinking it was like along the lines of hers. And she said to the doctor, look, I don't want her to go on the pill because it gave her facial hair. And I still distinctly remember that, because she's like, I don't want her hormones going crazy and whatnot. And they put me on a menopause tablet, which I still take. Well, not anymore, but I still did take right until like a couple of weeks ago. And it was supposed to stop my bleeding then, but it never did. So I often do think about like poor little Rikki in high school, about like,
so rough.
it was wild.
Just like the anemia and having to get like
Constant
take
iron infusions forever.
Like you'd be so exhausted.
But
just
also the
trying to
pain, just the pain living with it. So I always thought like appendicitis, like IBS. They always like thought I had issues that weren't related to my periods. But then when I first met Chris, I said, look, I've had all these periods problems my whole life. Luckily I met him at 20. So and we were married by 24, and then like baby trying pretty much started like the day we got engaged. And we went and met with a fertility doctor straight away, and he was brilliant. He gave me my first laparoscopy, which diagnosed everything.
Which is insane that's over 10 years before you even had any sort of exploratory anything.
Nothing.
That's so
I'm thinking
wild.
like even just teenage years and becoming finding who you are, like I felt like a lot of that was restricted for me because I was so unwell for so long. It didn't stop me. It did not stop me from getting too crazy. I love that. But it did put a lot of I don't know, like just recovery. Like always, I was always sick from something. Then I was diagnosed with endometriosis, adenomyosis, and then on my first IVF cycle, I was diagnosed with PCOS.
Can you tell us a little bit about what those three things are?
Okay, so endometriosis is a condition where you grow lining similar to your endometrium, which is your uterus, and it grows on everything. It grows on all organs. So after we got married, I was put on Clomid, which is to help with ovulation.
Mm-hmm.
So we did lots of trials, like about a year of trying naturally.
Mm-hmm. And what does Clomid do?
So it induces ovulation.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So
Is it
it's like
sometimes where you can get like hyperovulation as well, where
Yeah,
like
you
you
can.
can throw
Yes.
more than one egg?
So it was actually the worst medication I've probably ever been on because it's semi-loopy, semi-crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. All of the IVF drugs compared to Clomid, I feel like were nothing
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So like this is a long time ago. So this is nearly 10 years ago. So Tatum was about 7 years down the track
Mm-hmm.
from constant trial and error. That's what I always said that IVF was. So my first stimulation cycle, which is when they stimulate the ovaries, that was fine. I didn't really have too many side effects from that because they say that the first cycle is like your trial cycle.
Yeah.
So they want to see how your body reacts to the medications, how many eggs you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you start off with doing like a stimulation injection. For me, that was good on this cycle. At the end of that one, I only got 3 eggs out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, only 2 of them were mature,
Yeah.
and they both did turn into embryos, which is fertilized. And we did it a cycle straight away. So I had a fresh cycle, which was straight after the stimulation happened. So it was only about 5 days after I didn't fall pregnant from that.
Yeah.
So we were back to the drawing board. Let's go again. So we decided to have a couple months off because they do like to say, look, just have a bit of a rest, let your body recover.
Also, though, those months I feel like would kill you because all you want
Every-
to
yeah,
all you want to do is
100%.
get pregnant, and
Yeah.
you're like being made to wait.
Oh, there's
Longer.
times when like I would just play mental games with myself and be like, oh my god, I think I'm pregnant, and not have even had sex that month. Do you know? I was a chronic tester. Like I always had like 5 or 6 boxes of pregnancy tests in my drawer, and like so many times I'd be like, play mind games with myself. Oh, I think I'm pregnant just before I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
Pee on a stick, not pregnant, mental breakdown, not going anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
Every symptom, you're like,
every symptom, and that's the thing. And because being on medication as well, a lot of them do make you feel like pregnancy symptoms. So you think even after like cycles, or if I've had a transfer done, I would think, okay, every little nib that's a pregnancy.
Yeah.
Or my period's coming. It all felt the same.
Yeah.
So we went back. I gained a whole amount of weight during that time too.
with all of like the injections and hormones and stuff.
And also at the same time, I was still had all of my period issues at the same time. So after a cycle, I'd bleed for 3 months.
Yeah.
So there's times where like I couldn't get out of bed. So I had to take myself to the hospital so many times just from like excessive blood loss.
Yeah.
And all it was let's just have another iron infusion. Let's check your HB levels.
Band-Aid over it.
Let's put a Band-Aid over it. Let's get you pregnant. Then we'll deal with that later. It was always pregnancy's
like
gonna
you
fix
were
you.
pushed to the back almost. Like you're,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. So like, I don't know if it's TMI, but for me, my periods have always been so, like the bleeding has been the biggest issue for me constantly.
Yeah.
So like 2 pads at a time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maternity pads, going through them like every 2 to 3 hours.
And also, like, when you have bleeding that much, you don't want to go anywhere
Yeah.
or do anything because, like,
And I feel like it's a bit dangerous, you know, like so much blood loss is, just Band-Aids, iron infusions, like, not healthy.
That's where a lot of my cycles were actually pushed back a bit as well, is that a lot of the medications didn't stop my bleeding. So I did have a lot of cancelled cycles. So that was more time as well. So I'd start a cycle and then I'd be like 4 or 5 days into it, and I would have to be stopped bleeding by that time to be able to be on time for ovulation. So I'd stop taking the medication, cancel cycle, we wait till next month. Another stimulation cycle. And from that, before then, I'd lost a lot of weight. I'd gotten healthy. Chris and I were exercising because a lot of issues were to make sure that his sperm was good as well. So even though I had all of the issues, he still needed to be checked as well and
I
healthy.
think that's what sometimes people forget as well. Like, there are 2 people that make a baby.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that. Because I fell a lot on my shoulders.
You feel like guilty and
But he did his part. He took his multivitamins. He drank his water.
He's like, it's the least he could do.
Yeah, the least. He didn't just turn up and do it in the cup and go. He was mortified by having to do that. Sorry, babe.
I actually have stories. You can either do it like 2 ways. You can do it there, or you can like do it at home, but you have to get to the
You have to get there an hour, yeah. So he only had to do that twice, thankfully. Like
Just imagining someone like driving so quickly down the road, like, I gotta get to the
that's how beautiful he is, though, because I did spin him out a little bit at the first time. I was like, so you're going to have to go into a little room down the side, there's going to be magazines. And bless his soul, he was like, okay, that's what I've got to do. Like, he was so on board. And then the second that he found out that he didn't have to, it was such a relief. We did actually I did a lot of cycles. I felt like I wasn't being heard. My issues weren't being heard. Plus, I always feel like getting a second opinion doesn't hurt. So we decided to go to Brisbane to a highly recommended doctor down there. And he was so thorough. So he did things like checking my thyroid, just all little things that like checking for tumours.
Big thing, thyroid.
Yeah.
Causes a lot of miscarriages.
It does. And because before that I did have a miscarriage, so I fell pregnant. And I lost it at 8 weeks. So it was that they like to scan you about 6-7 weeks just to make sure that the heartbeat's there. And it was obviously not there. So that's okay.
Was that your first pregnancy?
That was my first pregnancy, yeah.
How many years in are you at?
Oh, same year as I fell pregnant with Tatum, actually.
Yeah,
so it was pretty quick moving. Once I'd recovered from that, it was like, all right, we know we can do it now, and it just kind of give us some motivation to be like, let's get serious about this. So that's when we decided, because I was so sick, let's go and see another doctor. He did come highly recommended through a lot of like socials that I've always been quite heavy on, looking in like endometriosis pages, IVF pages, support pages, which is like always helped. So we went down to Brisbane. He thoroughly checked everything. And he actually like told me a lot about why I lost the baby too. So it was like a hormonal imbalance, which is a lot of my issues, which is like I'm just a massive hormonal imbalance and inflammation. So he's like, we got to just try and just tweak the medication a little bit. He checked Chris as well, which was lovely. Because they had to like thoroughly check him. So it's like you feel like for women, like we're so invaded all the time. But he got checked as well, and he got the all clear. Sorry, just memories coming back.
So he was like all in the same room, or was it
he was behind a curtain. Oh, he's gonna hate me. Anyway, the doctor put a glove on.
And he knew it was down here from there.
The glove goes.
It does, and I was just out like pissing myself laughing because I just had my check and like that's so invasive. And then Chris is like, "Where are you putting that?"
So he gets the lube out now.
I'm pulling. It's not going anywhere. That shouldn't. So from there, he's like, "Let's go." Took all of my stimulation cycles and all of my embryos. So I actually had 12 embryos from that stage. So from getting healthy, losing all that weight, Chris getting healthy as well. We were on a lot of multivitamins that tried to help. So I did a lot of alternative ways around it as well, because for me, I did all this research and it was like, you've got to balance out your hormones because obviously there was a lot going on. Plus I was smashing myself with a lot of, synthetic hormones as well. So
did you go down like the naturopath side, stuff and acupuncture, and can you want to talk a little bit about that as well? Yeah,
he is a brilliant. He's very good at getting women pregnant the natural way. And he gave me his pregnancy stack, so I was on a lot of them. Chris was on a lot of them as well, so we took a lot of just trying to balance out my hormones. And from that, I got 18 eggs out of that cycle, and 17 of them were
That's
maturing.
amazing.
Yeah, so and then out of that we got 12 embryos.
That's amazing.
That's
So,
really
incredible.
which are 2 of my babies now, which is crazy to think
Oh,
of.
that's so amazing.
It's crazy to think because I'm like, they were conceived at the same time, so it's a bit of a weird thought.
They're
Twins.
They're twins, yeah, nothing alike.
You can't. They look alike. You always say to me that they don't. They do.
Yeah, with
He's
me
just
on this
fancier.
one, they look
Yes.
very similar.
Yeah.
It was.
Actually, before we get on to Tatum, I don't know if this is off the books, but what were the prices of all of this? Like, was it because you were doing this for 7 years? Like, how expensive was it?
So we were $50,000.
Wow.
So, but that's with that's the surgeries, that's the hospital
everything
admissions.
included,
Yeah. So each IVF cycle we did it privately as well. I needed to have private doctors. There's obviously different avenues you can take if you can't afford that, and the government is really helpful for that.
Yeah, right.
But upfront cost is about between $10,000 to $12,000 each stimulation cycle.
Wow.
For a Clomid cycle, which is the tablet that I took first, $30.
Yeah.
So they start with that because it's the cheaper avenue.
Yeah.
Plus they want to see how everything works.
Yeah.
But when I think about we often think you can take money out of your super, that sort of stuff to help, which we are lucky in this country. A lot of places you can't do that.
Yeah.
So if there's avenues you need to take, we always just saved and thought this is the way. If we can't afford to do this, we can't afford to have a baby. So we thought this is our practice for a whole lifetime of financial aid.
I guess when you want to you can't put a price on when you want a baby, you'll pay anything to get that baby.
I would do it 10,000 times over now that I've got my babies. Any there's no price tag. So if we had to sell things, we'd sell things. We actually did do it really tough back then, because obviously people are buying houses and whatnot. We were pushed back,
and everything was so much more expensive as well.
Yeah, well, and Chris working away at the time too, so he was paying for it. I also had a salon that we were working with. So I flew down to Brisbane to have my transfer done, which was a frozen transfer, which they say these days is much better to do because your body hasn't got all of that medication in it. It gives it time to rest. So Tatum was put inside of me, and Chris was on FaceTime, but because it was COVID time, so that was in 2020, in October 2020. I think it was, November 2020. And we found out 2 weeks later. Actually, no, I didn't find out 2 weeks later.
You were
testing by the day after.
3 times that day.
And I was like, it's not working. But you know what? I knew I was pregnant. The second that it went inside of me, he went inside of me. It's a really beautiful experience. It's a beautiful experience because it is so scientific and it's so sterilized. So to watch it looks like a little.
Can you see it on a screen?
Yeah. So
oh my gosh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So obviously.
Did you take a video? Did you take a photo or video?
I took so many.
Oh
I took so many.
Okay.
So you can see the cannula go into the uterus and then you can see the little speck. So it looks like a shooting star going into your uterus.
That's actually so amazing. Can you send us some photos of that? Because I would love to see it as well.
Yeah.
It was your first scan, your 8-week, 7-week, 6-week scan?
7
and everything
weeks.
was
So
fine?
going into that was pretty nerve-wracking because I'd had a previous miscarriage.
Yeah.
And when I seen, but you know what? I just knew. I knew that you know.
You have a feeling.
It's just
and
a feeling. And it's to me. I get really spiritual about it. I think it's his little soul was he was attached to that little embryo.
Yeah.
And I just always felt like he was it.
That's really special.
That is beautiful.
What do we do there?
So when did complications start? So when did the pregnancy start not becoming smooth sailing?
The day Judgment Day
Because
pretty
you would
much.
have had your 20-week scan and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Did you find out the gender and do all that sort of stuff?
So I found out the gender during the early days.
Yeah.
So I knew I'd like 10 weeks.
Oh, okay.
The Harmony test or whatever
on the
it's
NIPT
called.
or?
Yeah.
NIPT.
Yeah. So I knew he was a boy. Chris worked away, and I started feeling like I had to poo.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And I remember sitting on the toilet I was talking to my brother, and I was like, I have to get off the phone because I'm home alone. I need to go to the toilet. And I went on the toilet and I couldn't poo, but I had that feeling.
Yeah.
So I actually messaged my mum and called my mum, and she's like, Rikki, that's not normal. Plus I was having pains, so I felt like I was having pains from that morning. It was a Monday. This is all very, very vivid, girls. So all that stuff before isn't, but it was a Monday.
I love how you switch from like being like, I can't really remember, but now you're like, I know
because
exactly what happened.
Isn't it crazy? Because all of the I honestly haven't thought about the falling pregnant part of side things for so long. The whole sickness side I have, because that's always just been with me. But before Tatey, it was like there's a BT and an AT, you know.
Yeah.
So
BT and AT, I love that. That's really good.
Yeah, and Mum was like, Rikki, that doesn't sound normal. So I was 23 weeks and 2 days, and I was through a private hospital, and I called them, and it was 9 o'clock at night. So I'm 23 weeks pregnant. So before 28 weeks, really pretty much before 34 weeks, they won't send you to the private hospital. But they said, okay, because 2 weeks prior to that, I'd rolled over in bed and yelled at my dog and had like ligament pulls through the front, which I went and seen my doctor about, and he's like, you're all good, have some Panadol, all good. So I actually drove myself to the hospital that night because Chris was away, and I got in there and they took me into the room and they're like, oh, you're okay, what we think is you're just constipated.
To the general hospital? To the private.
So I drove myself to the private hospital. I called them on my way and said, where do I go, which hospital am I going to? And they said, oh no, well, we can probably see you here. We can see you here and just check you over.
Yeah.
At this point, like I hadn't even done my hospital visit, you know, hadn't done anything like that. So I wasn't familiar with any of the midwives or anything at the hospital. They took me in and they laid me down. They called my doctor and he said, just give her some petting fort and let her have some rest and just watch her. So because the midwives in this hospital weren't actually allowed to check me, they didn't know. So I was there from 9 o'clock at night. About an hour later, I was like, I'm still having these pains. This doesn't feel right. So they actually gave me a suppository. Which is like, looking back now, should not have happened. The second
they hadn't hooked you up to anything at this stage?
No, I hadn't been hooked up to anything. So it was just pretty much, he just thought that I would have the ligament pain still again. So she gave me a suppository. She's like, try and keep it in for 20 minutes. This is what we think it is. You're pregnant. You could be constipated. And I was like,
especially after 20 weeks, I feel like all the constipation and stuff goes away, and it's not a thing anymore, so it's a bit weird.
And you had that mum's intuition, you just knew, hey.
Well, you know what, I didn't think, I always thought I was so naive and blasé that this sort of thing even happens. And I was like, I've been through my fair share of stuff like this. There just wasn't anything.
And I feel like once you get to 20 weeks, you sort of think you're out of the woods, and you're like, unless you've been in the NICU or you know anyone in the NICU, you don't really know it exists.
100%, yeah. And we didn't. We didn't have any idea. So second she walked out, she's like, leave it in for 20 minutes. I was like, getting myself on that toilet. And I got it out of me. Yeah. And when I wiped, I felt something in my vagina. So it was, I now know membranes. And it was like poking out of me. Oh my God. So I was pushing it
back in,
and like I've got fingers. I'm like, what is that? And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's like my cervix is pushed down because there's a baby in there. Like I'd never been pregnant like this before. And I called the midwife back and I said, hey, there's something inside that I can feel. She's like, what? In your vagina? And I'm like, yeah.
Did you like look with your phone or anything? Or you just
no, I didn't think. I didn't realize what it was until I seen. It's the doctors up at the general. So she put me back in bed and she actually just had a look externally, but once I had laid down, they've all gone back up. So she had a look, she's like, it's all good, but I'm going to call your doctor. He came in straight away, had a look, and he's like, okay, you...
Imagine though if you kept pushing on the toilet.
Imagine if I busted it.
With your fingernails or something.
And I was pushing, I think. I'm like thinking now, I'm like trying to get that out.
Yeah.
I was like, get that out of me.
Yeah.
So I put it in ambulance. Actually, they gave me the mag bag, steroids, morphine.
In the ambulance?
No, this is still in the hospital waiting for the ambulance.
Okay.
Passed out from the magnesium.
Yeah. Everyone says it's really
bad.
Oh, it's horrible. So you get like a hot flush, just comes, you just red, and I was like, oh, I'm going. He said to me, how are you feeling? I'm like, I think I'm on it, and I was going. And then I woke up and they actually had stopped it because the ambulance had come, so I had the rest of it when I was up at the general. So got wheeled into the general, and it was before then I called Chris.
Yeah, I was about to say, where is Chris?
I had to call him, and that phone call was horrible because he was in Mount Isa. Yeah, can I say him?
Yes.
He was over 9 hours drive away, and the flights, so he was rural, the flights back were hard to get. And
they're only on certain days too.
They are, and like two day. I'm
So did he just start driving back? Like,
no, so he was like, tell me what I need to do. I was like, you need to get back. I was really calm at this stage, like thinking of myself back then, because I didn't actually know the severity. I'm like, my cervix was open 4 centimeters. So I'd been going through labor during all that pain. I remember just sitting and looking at the clock during that time going, okay, I was actually timing it, and I was like, I was having pains every 45 minutes. So I was timing them. Anyway, said to Chris, you need to get back. And he was like, why, what's happened? It's so serious? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty serious. I'm going up to the general now. Called mum, she got everything sorted, and she met me up at the hospital.
Mum always comes very good.
Oh, she does. She does. And at the time my dad was working, well, he still is working away. So she called him to come home as well. So mum met me at the hospital as I got out of the ambulance. And when I got off the stretcher, I had a lot of blood come out. And I sat on the toilet and was like, I'm bleeding, I'm freaking out. Pardon me. And they put me back into bed and done all the scans and stuff. And then, 100 doctors. And I had like 20 people in the room with me.
And you're 23 weeks at this stage.
23 weeks and 2 days, yeah. Where do we go there then?
So when they did the scans, did they say like you're in labour? Like
So they said you're in labour. They took me down for a bigger scan. So in the hospital rooms they've only got like the
bedside,
the bedside ultrasound. So they showed me and stuff, and they showed me that my cervix was open. They kept saying membranes, you've got membranes, 7 centimetre membranes. I'm like, I don't know what that means. They took me downstairs, and this is when I met the head doctor too, the high risk doctor. And he came in and he said, membranes are your sac. Is there sac in there? And I'm like, oh. Then it clicked to me, like that's open, that's out of me. Oh my god, I'm having a baby. They took me back upstairs, and during that trip is what obviously it's all switched, and I realized how early I am. That panic attack just came and just took. I've never had a panic attack before either. Quite like headstrong, and that. Oh.
What were you thinking? Like, did you think if I had a baby now, like,
what would happen? He said it. Especially the high risk doctor said, look, if you have this baby now, there's not any chance really that he will survive. So I had heard that with mum, the panic attack hit in. My dad arrived halfway through that panic attack, and I remember just having it. My mum was sitting in front of me, she's like, just breathe, count and breathe.
And I think too, like, how old is Tatum now?
4. He's 4.
Even like going back 4 years ago to now, the difference that technology has brought to the NICU is way different. So 4 years ago, 23 weekers may not have survived, but like they're doing really well these days. So it's crazy.
Oh, it's
And
amazing.
that's 4 years, you know, like that's, when you think about it, that's not a super long time.
No way.
Oh, it's amazing how far things come. Hey, wow. Then I looked at my dad, and then I come out of the panic attack, and I looked at my dad, I was like, "Hey, Dad," and then it was just it. Then I spent the next 24 hours in the birth suite, in the birth center of the hospital, not the center, the birth suite.
Sweet.
Yeah, and they
Just
stopped
in bed?
just in bed. So I didn't sleep a wink that whole night. Chris had arrived, and he has his own his own journey of that day. And learning, the high risk doctor actually did say to him, look, if she has this baby now, he's not going to survive, but in a lot harsher words.
It would have been heartbreaking for you both to hear.
Did they ever say like, we will, or if you want to, we will, or?
Well, that didn't happen until the next few hours though. So we actually met the whole NICU team later. So, well, the NICU doctors that were on that week, and they come in and had a big chat. Told us they'll give us a tour. We had answered all of our questions. So they pretty much said, look, you have the option of us to step in. If you were to have him today, we can step in, do everything we can. And obviously we were like, yes, we want that to happen. But the chances of hitting 24 weeks, they grow. The survival chances, the survival rates, the complications, they drop, by like 50%. She's telling me 50%. I'm like, okay. So that was in my head, 24 weeks, I need to get to 24 weeks. So once I hit 24 weeks, it was like I was full term. So I was like, okay.
Let's have this baby.
And then you bloody come.
It honestly, was it like the longest 5 days of your life trying to keep him in there, like make sure?
Well, it was backwards and forwards. So every time that they thought that there was like a little inkling that he was coming, so I was rushed back to the birth suite. I think like maybe 10 times, at least once a day.
Like he's not coming until 24 weeks, guys. Don't worry.
I didn't know.
You're talking to him like, you're staying in, mate.
Well, I had to see a psychic it's crazy. I seen a psychic when I was only very early, and she told me that my second pregnancy was going to be a complication before she even knew I was pregnant. And I was thinking like, oh, this is my next baby. This baby's going to be fine.
Yeah, like you thought you were like next after so many weeks, baby.
Like I think I was already past like the 12-week mark when I'd seen her. So I was like, I'm good. So that always played in my mind. I actually did call her one night when I was in the maternity ward and telling her, and she's like, no, everything's okay. Like, everything's going to be okay. And I was like, oh, maybe I make it to 35 weeks. Like, that's going to happen. Every midwife
were you telling Chris this? And Chris was probably like,
no, because everyone that come in, I was like, hey, so tell me, like, how many other people are in this situation and, like, just get sent home on bed rest? And like they don't, you guys know, they don't say too much, but I was holding on to hope that I was gonna be in there for a long time, me still pregnant. So when she told me, look, I have everything, like I see he's fine, he's okay. So I'm like, all right, so we're gonna keep him pregnant. I'm gonna stay pregnant for a while. Yeah, what do you want to know?
So you did not stay pregnant for a while. You came to 24 weeks, and what happened on that day?
So the day before Tatum was born was my dad's birthday. So mum and dad brought all dinner up to the hospital with Chris, and we had a cake. My mum's cousin baked us a cake, and
so nice.
Like, oh,
they're so selfless. Like they could have easily went out for dinner and did their own thing, but they came to you.
They came to me in my little hospital room, and we did the cake. Actually, a couple of days before that, my waters broke. But I had the hind leg, which was up high. So I was only losing a little bit of waters every day. But then the waters kind of stopped. So they were checking to make sure that Tatum still had enough fluid to survive. And they told me that the babies make their own fluid, so they drink it and they pee it back out. So hopefully he'll be able to be made more if the leak wasn't, if it wasn't as bad. So because it was up high, he was blocking the flow of the leak.
Yeah.
But he was constantly moving. So because the 24 week is so small, 23 weeker is so small, he was like doing laps in my belly. 4 weeks on my dad's birthday on that day. So it was like a celebration. It was a Saturday. It was like celebration. It was like a big sigh of relief that, yes, we've made it this far. Like, he can come now. And I probably like spoke too soon, but I'm like, yep. So yeah, then I called the midwives in and said, look, like, I started to get a little bit of blood. Plus there wasn't waters coming out anymore. So they checked. The blood was quite bright. So I got swooped off to birth suite again. Had all the scans, and then laying in there. So a couple of times while I was in the birth suite, a lot of my mental game was, oh my God, I'm not prepared to have a baby. I'm not prepared to give birth. I haven't done any of the classes, antenatal classes. That was freaking me out, because I'm like, yeah, he's so this small, but I still am not prepared to push this thing out of me.
To do.
Yeah. So a lot of that was a mental game for me, that I had to just make sure that they were going to have my back. I was like, what pain relief can I have? Is that all still the same? So which it is. It's, you still have all those options.
Before this though, did you tour NICU? Did you end up doing that?
Yeah. Well, we skipped a whole massive part.
What happened in there?
So this is such a massive part of my journey is Waverley. Makes me cry. So she was the first little baby that I've seen. So they come and picked us up, and I was in my wheelchair in my beautiful Peter Sanders, and brought me through, and I met with one of you beautiful girls and they took me in because like Tatum was saying, they were saying he's about 700 grams, which is the size of,
which is a good size.
Yeah, which is a good size. So which was the size of his roommate. And I seen her first, and she was so cute and tiny, and to me she looked like a little baby. Like she was so stunning. Like she was just her little head, and she had all these perfect little features and her little belly, and watching her breathe, I remember seeing her breathe. So they're like, this is what your baby's gonna look like, and I was like, oh, I'm okay with this. Like I'm okay with her with mine looking like her. So Waverley was we call each other our roommates.
Oh, cute.
So she was our roommate.
Like make you feel more, like better or more worried?
No, so much better. So much better. So that week before having him was the worst week out of my whole journey, I think. Yeah. I mean, I had got cabin fever by the end there, and like they were all bad, but that was a me problem. That wasn't like is my baby going to survive problem. So that was the what ifs were the worst part. But then once he was born, it was, he's going to be okay. He's fine. And I just always knew.
Did you have a vaginal birth, C-section?
No. So once I was wheeled back into the, during that trip from the maternity ward to the birth centre, I could feel a heartbeat in my bum. And it was Tatum's fault.
He's like, oh, I want to quit.
He was like, all right, it's go time.
It's time to go.
He's like jumping in there, like, I'm ready to get into NICU.
I want to bring
I
out.
got a cute room.
I got this cute roommate. She's my girlfriend. I want to go hang out with her.
So true. Oh, he felt those vibes, with the vibes. Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, he was kicking me, so that because he was breached, I couldn't have him naturally. That all happened, and then I was wheeled away, and off we went. And it was pretty quickly when they took Teddy out. So Chris done some of the pacing outside, as he does, as they were taking me in to give me the spinal plug. And then he came in, and bless his soul, he was so like brave, and just so brave for me. I said to them, I don't want to see Teddy, and I just want you to take him straight away. So when they met with us, the NICU team said, you have the option, we can put him on, you can do a little bit of a kiss, and then we will take him, or we take him straight away. So when I was 23, in the 23 weeks, I thought, okay, I probably will want that, because if he doesn't survive, I want to have that life, know that feeling of that his life there. Yeah, but once I'd hit 24 weeks, I just knew he was going to be okay. So I was like, please take him straight away.
Lots of parents do say that. They're like, I don't care, like you just take him, do whatever you can. Like, do what
intervene
you need to do.
straight away.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, because I don't want it to be anything come back later and be like, well, if we could have taken him sooner,
Yeah.
we could have done this. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking any risks.
Mhm.
But when they pulled him out, Chris was like, he's out. I'm like, okay, so they took him all outside.
Did you hear a cry or anything?
No, I didn't hear a cry, no. But I had my head turned so that I didn't see him.
Yeah.
But I burp.
Did Chris stay with you, or did
No.
he go out to?
He went with Tatum. Yeah. So they took him outside. They took my phone too. So they took some
Beautiful.
videos, some photos. Chris still got to cut his cord.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so special.
Yeah, I am so glad he still got that part.
Mhm.
So he got to get his cord, cut his cord. He said they were all really relaxed. So they took him back to the NICU where they intubated him back there, and that's where Chris was gone then.
So that means he was breathing on his own.
Yeah.
So they would have been doing some breast, but he would have been
Yeah, they'll give-
okay
yeah.
enough
Yeah.
for them to take their time and do it in the unit. So that's really positive.
Is it?
That's
Mm.
really
I've never
good.
heard that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Because like if they're not breathing by themselves and they do need a lot of help, they often just get intubated in
Straight then and
Straight
then.
away,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
So
That's why
he-
they've got the big bag.
big
with all the stuff in it.
bag.
That's got all the intubation equipment in
Yeah.
there.
Ah,
So if he was, he must have been doing well.
yeah,
enough
so
for
he
them
was
to be
always
like,
strong.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
start
From the
to
first
and do
breath.
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's because I used to think like those parts that I didn't get to see.
Mhm.
You always have questions about what happened. Was he all right? So that's really good to know. So he didn't get intubated till back in the NICU. You were there, weren't you?
Probably. I don't know.
I feel like you're the first.
Yeah,
You're the first one I
feel
remember.
like you were the first really small baby I looked after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember having a conversation with you too,
Yeah.
but you always made me feel at ease.
Oh, thanks.
You were so
I was so stressed.
Yeah,
That's
you were
good.
so calm.
Oh,
Your
good.
energy was so
Oh,
calm.
good. Was he in a little bag?
Yeah. Yeah, so they put them in a little oven bag. A little sandwich bag.
It is a sandwich bag.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it actually so it's bought from
No, it's hospital grade sandwich.
need this to put our babies in.
No, I think
It's
I don't
got
know.
the same like seal. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like we cut the little hole in the bottom of the bag, but like there is a seal at the bottom,
And
so
do
it
you
does
girls
give
do
sandwich
that?
bag.
Yeah.
We cut the hole.
Yeah.
Oh,
We do arts and crafts.
Yeah.
you know.
I know, because I still have Tatum's name on that
Good.
Dimity made on his bedroom.
Oh, good.
On his bedroom.
You made a bunting.
I know.
Tatum was very special
That was
then.
probably the first
Well, that's what he's got on his door still to this day.
There you go.
It was like one and done.
one.
Never seen her
I'm
make
sorry,
one since.
I've literally never seen you make a bunting in my life. That means
She was so creative. It's green and it's got zebras on it.
I'm proud.
that too.
I'm gonna have to
No,
send
I
you
don't think it's a
photo.
bunting. It's a cot card.
Oh yeah, still.
No, it's
Oh, a bunting
it's,
too.
It's his name.
I am good.
Yeah, you were so,
Maybe I need to
you
get
were
back
so
onto that.
creative. And you made his cot tag too, didn't
Oh,
you?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty
I
sure- and you
remember
took
making
his
that. Yeah.
Footprints. Yeah,
Oh,
that's he's still got that on his door.
Okay.
Yeah. So where were we?
So he got taken around the NICU with Chris,
With Chris? Yeah.
and then did
yeah.
you come around?
So I didn't come around because they were intubating him.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they wanted to give him an hour
Mhm.
to make
Yeah.
sure he was stable before I come in and see him.
Mhm.
So actually, a massive part that I do want to talk about,
Yeah.
breastfeeding.
Yeah.
While I was in the maternity ward, I was like, okay, what can I do? I want to be able to breastfeed. I know that that's probably not something I could do anymore,
Yeah.
but they encouraged to start expressing. Yeah. So when I got into recovery from having him, I had a beautiful student midwife and she was milking me. She was milking me because I said, can you just make sure that I have the best chance?
Yeah.
And she did, and she was milking me, and that's what got
I
taken.
can't handle you saying milking me. Milking me. I always actually remember you having heaps of milk too. So
Yeah, still to this day,
Yeah.
after a year of breastfeeding,
Oh,
I still
good.
got them. Yeah, no.
good. That's good.
It is good, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get it.
yeah, so that was a massive part. I just was like, I just want to play my part
Yeah.
and be able to make his breast milk. So I was getting expressed in recovery.
Milked.
And that was taken straight back to Tatum. So she got so much colostrum out. I remember like having a full 1 ml syringe.
So good.
And it's great.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to take it to your baby now. And that was nice. But they didn't, I got to give him the cotton, the bit of breast milk on the cotton. Yeah. So I went back, they asked me the option if I wanted to have like the stronger pain relief or if I wanted to go. So I just had the oral pain relief because there's nothing more than having a baby in the NICU or special care that will get you wanting to recover faster. So I was like,
and you want to be aware as well.
Yeah.
You don't want to like take
you want to
meds
remember.
and be
Yeah,
asleep.
and not remember.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I went and had a little rest and then they come and got me and wheeled me in, and where our room was, I was in that back door, so I got to do the sneaky back door and walked in and seen, well, I didn't walk, but wheeled right up against him, and just like this little tiny little beautiful baby. And my mum was with me as well, and Chris. And I got to touch him straight away, and they put my breast milk on like a cotton tip and stuck it in his mouth, and he had a little play around with it. Yes, that's right. You're bringing back all these words. His little lollipop, and I felt like I was, okay, I can go back and have a rest now. Like it was good. During that whole day of his first day, I was thinking of waking up every 3 hours and pumping, and that's all I focused on.
Doing your full-time job.
Doing my part.
Milking.
Yeah. Milking. And it come in so quickly too when it did come. I was like, get me up, have a shower, because I want to go back and see my baby.
Got that. Were you able to have cuddles as well?
No. So I didn't get to cuddle him until he was 9 days old.
Oh.
Just being so premature and
Yeah.
and intubated too.
Yeah.
You don't really like it.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. That was probably the hardest thing, because I was let home 4 days. He was 4 days old, and I still never held him.
Yeah. And because you
how-
lived here as well, you went home, you didn't go to Ronnie Mac's, you were far away.
I was far away, but I was still pumping. So so apparently, if you've got cameras on the
Yes, we have cameras now.
I would get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and not leave until 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
God, Rikki, that's a big day, but that's amazing.
But you know what? This is like, I had Britt,
Yeah.
I had Waverley's mum, and we're still besties to this day. Very similar, our personalities. We both have the same careers. We both have IVF babies. Our babies were both born so close together. They're only like 6 days apart, birthdays. So her and I would not have gotten
Trauma bonding.
We trauma bonded. We trauma bonded hard, but like we both wanted the same things. We both knew that like breastfeeding was a big deal for us. We were both, I think everybody that's been in the NICU, they would have like attributes that think that this is why I got my baby through. This is what got my baby through. And I really feel like my breast milk was what kept Tatum so strong. And I don't know, I
But
feel
also your dedication, right? Like being there with him the whole day, him hearing your voice, your laugh constantly. I think that makes a really big difference too. You know, like it really does.
Thank you. We did try and keep it lighthearted all the time. Britt and I always had music playing. We were always laughing. We were always like, we both, every morning I wake up, good morning Waverley, good morning Tatum, and like say good, the same way we'd say good night, see you again tomorrow for the same thing. Like we always like kept it really chirpy. I mean, there were so many times where it wasn't, but like the same respect, like I don't know how people do get through it without having someone in the same story with you, like in the same boat. So like she was really my rock. And else too is just incredible. Like Hayes.
I always loved looking after Tatum because I was like, I'm going to hang out with Rikki. I've got a good day ahead.
Isn't that funny? Like we'd always be like, who have we got tonight? What nurse have we got on today?
I love that.
So one of our girls? Yeah, it was so good. It was.
So take us back a little bit to when you did have your first cuddles. What was that like? Because he was still intubated then.
He was. So he was wrapped up. Take me back there now. I was sat on a recliner. It was actually really scary. because I didn't want to like anything to fall out. I didn't want
He
anything.
probably had the same feeling like when he was born, you know, like you're like, oh, is he better in
Yeah.
bed or is he? I don't want to do anything wrong.
100%. And because we were able to touch him and stuff, like I did feel like I was getting a little bit, but when I did hold him for the first time, it was a euphoric feeling. But at the same time, it wasn't really an enjoyable experience. I was bonding, but the whole time I was like, he needs to go, he needs to go, he needs to go back in there.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't kiss him. Like he didn't have that baby smell. He was it was sterile. So it was it was lovely, but I just wanted it to be over just to get him in. What I really loved was once he come out of his incubator and I could put clothes on him. The sheets, you and your sheets. He always had the best sheets.
When you look good,
no, but you
feel
brought
good.
some in. You had like the best sheets. I'm like, oh, I need
that's something that used to make me feel because I didn't get a baby shower. I lost out on all of that sort of stuff, all that fun stuff that comes at the end of the third trimester. Like I was still in my second trimester. So losing out on that, so I wanted to still make sure that I went to Adair's and got all the beautiful sheets and my dear doll Reid doesn't sleep in a cot now, but he's still got all the best sheets. He sleeps in my Adair's sheets. So that was probably the most, buying him clothes, and like I looked online and bought him all like the little NICU clothes, and my nana actually sewn a whole heap of NICU clothes that I've still got in his little keepsake box. Just putting hats on him and dressing him up. When we got to that stage, even though it was scary all the time, like he was still like those little tiny moments, and you always say like you take 2 steps forward to 1 step back. So you get like try and enjoy those little tiny moments, because then all of a sudden he'd have him ready and it'd be like red mark, and it was horrific walking in and seeing on his chart in the morning and being like, oh man, because you were doing so good yesterday, and then the next day they're just so many different days. Like it's completely could be 2 polar opposites. No 2 days were ever the same. So he would get progressed and get put on the NIPIV, and then I got a phone call that night. So once he'd been extubated, a couple of hours later he had to be intubated again, and he was intubated for another week. So I got excited because he was coming off that, but then he went back again.
What was it like getting that phone call? Like, were you, because you were at home at that
I was
stage.
prepared for it. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. You know, you always like to don't let yourself get too excited. So there was that phone call, and it was about midnight. And she said, oh, we've just had to intubate him again because we kept having to wake him and shake him up. So that I was like, oh, thank goodness. But there was always a couple of the doctors that were like, Tatum can handle this, he can handle this, and then another one would be like, we're going to just put him back again. So there was always one really optimistic and then one, let's just play it on the safe side. So that always was a thing to get used to as well. Once he was put on high flow, that's when like I could cuddle him more.
Like you felt like he was more stable, you could pick him up easier, he was in an open cot.
It was. And he was about 34 weeks by that stage too, and I was like, can we put him on the boob? And we'd let a little suck, and then that was it. And then it'd be like I had a little taste of that, and then you can't do it again. For 2 weeks. You know, we were always like, geez, but he can handle it, but no, he can't. So
it was a bit frustrating.
It was very frustrating. In that time as well, we did have another lockdown from COVID as well. So Chris was back at work. I couldn't have any support in that time. So I was hyper fixated and going over and over and over again, like, something's really badly wrong with him. Like I got cabin fever by that point, and I'd get like a little step forward and then it would be taken back. So I'd be like, okay, we're gonna have to be put back on CPAP. You know, just all those moments that happened, and then we're like crept up the hall that much closer to special care, and then no, you gotta go. Oxygen's gotta be put back up again. You know, just all those little moments. It's a massive roller coaster, and we were there for 111 days.
Oh my goodness!
And it was the day.
Wow.
Oh,
that's
angel numbers.
It is angel number.
I love that.
It is.
How old was he when he got sent to special care?
And how did it feel for you that day, getting sent to special care?
That walk down the hall was crazy. He was 36 weeks. I think about 36. Yeah, we spent 38 days in special care.
Yeah.
And walking down the hall was amazing. So exciting. Like those are those little moments of we're being taken out of this home that we've lived in for a month. But it was like a bittersweet thing though, because this is our family, and it was you girls were our family. Like there was every morning just to see who was there. So it was like losing a leg because we lost our protection. I felt like and Tatum's protection. Everybody that was there knew Tatum to a new place that didn't know Tatum, and obviously they learnt our story and they were told his numbers and that sort of stuff, but it wasn't as personal for us. Like it was a big adjustment going from NICU. And Britt and I always say like it was, and NICU days were the best and worst days of our life because there were so many times in there, like being able to watch our little babies grow outside of the womb. Like who gets to say that?
Exactly, right?
Like it's so special, and to see them grow. And every time someone's pregnant, I'm like, do you want to see what your baby looks like at 28 weeks? Period. Like, are you curious? Because people are curious about that.
And people usually just have the app and it's just got the
fruit.
Whereas you've actually got the actual photos of what it would look like.
And I would always refer that back with my second pregnancy as well. Like, this is what it looks like.
I guess when you don't know the NICU, you don't expect them to look like an actual baby.
No.
So it's a bit weird that they literally look so normal.
And how crazy is it, like a week of being out? So a 24-weeker to a 25-weeker is a completely different baby.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And Tatum got that big frog belly and the little legs, and he grew that little bit of fat on his face, and he started getting really cute. And I'm like, that's completely different.
To what you like before.
Just being able to notice the differences in his facial features changing, like people don't get to see that when they're inside of you. And everyone, my second pregnancy, all I want to do is just have a scan so I can see what the baby looks like.
Tatum, I'm telling you.
Taty's name too means full of spirit too, which was something that we didn't realise until a doctor told us. He did, and he still does. His spirit is so strong. He's so mighty.
He definitely is.
Yeah, he's never. We are so lucky because, like I said before, the survivor's guilt. People always ask, "Is he okay? What's going on?" And he never skipped a beat. He's never not hit a milestone. And we were so prepared. Like he had a little grade 1 brain bleed. And
grade 1, that's crazy.
Nothing. Okay. So we were prepared for like massive brain bleeds, lung problems.
When he went home from special care, was he on oxygen?
So we took him home on oxygen for 3 months.
Yeah. So nothing. Yeah.
So his sleep studies were always good. Doctor just wanted to keep him on oxygen just to give him the best chance to grow.
Yeah.
I think he would have been fine without it, but. That's just a mother's instinct. I'm glad that we had it because it was that insurance and that security to know that he is breathing good. And during night time, I'm like, he's good. Another thing going home too is just desensitizing from the monitors and not
cords.
The cords,
and like looking at your baby to see if he's okay rather than a screen.
Yeah.
Did you get the outlet or anything like that?
No.
Oh my gosh, you're like, wow.
I didn't want to.
I feel like we always go back to this.
with big outlet, like,
Do many people do it?
Yeah, well, Dimity has one for story and like.
Yeah, but I feel like that's
she'll be wearing 21. She goes and gets it. She's good.
She knows, does she? Oh, that's so good. I just didn't feel like it was a necessary thing. I tossed it up, but I didn't want that to be, once he was out of the NICU, I didn't want it to be his whole
thing.
His whole thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be my whole thing either. I didn't want it to be like,
put the sock on.
Put the sock on. I've just done 4 months of that. I want to just enjoy him being a newborn. Yeah, and because he was on oxygen, I got really fancy and bought all the pretty tapes. And like we did our own ways. Like I was so neat, so good.
You want me brown? No brown tape. No brown tape.
Come and teach
and
us
we
all.
stuck them up around his ears, so like his face was a little bit clearer. We could see his face. Giving him a bath sometimes when I had to change his tape, I'd leave him off his oxygen for that bath time so we could just enjoy his little face.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing that was always hard for me, was I didn't know what his face or what his smile looked like.
Without anything.
Yeah. That was a hard thing for me. Yeah. What else was hard? The whole part was hard, and I hate to downplay it because it wasn't.
I feel like you
nice.
end up like downplaying it because you've been through the worst, and like
Yeah.
you've just seen like you've seen a 600-gram baby, which was your own. You sort of downplay it because you're like, I've seen way worse than what. Yeah,
I have, and we all knew what was going on in the whole NICU, like.
Yeah.
And they did tell us that design of the NICU when we were in there, I don't know if it's changed, but it's completely different to what it used to be. It used to be a whole
big
open,
Just a big open room. Yeah.
And you know, I think to me, I kind of would have liked that.
Yeah.
Because when I had my second, he was born at 35 weeks. And he was in special care, and the special care we were in was just a big room.
Yeah.
And the conversations and everyone, it was like a community, and we knew what every baby was doing, even though we still knew in the NICU as well what every baby was doing. It was nice to put faces and to see the babies as well. I don't know. That's just some people are quite sacred with their little babies, but for me, I would be like, do you want to see Tatum?
Yeah. It just like builds that sense of community and like makes it like, you know, exciting. Like when you go out, if your baby wasn't in NICU, you'd be like showing off your baby, being 100%. Like, this is my baby, like look how cute he is, and you were just doing that in the NICU, you know, and that special care, you would have been able to do it with Reid and just be like to everyone, yeah, come here, look at him.
Look, yeah. And I had a photo of Tatum on my phone, so when I'd go home, I'd like make sure in the elevator that people could see that I had a baby. Like I'd hold it out and be like, yes, I have a baby, because that sense of like losing a limb or not having a baby with you when you should have them. It's like, I'm a mum. I'm a mum. Does everyone know? I want everyone to know that I'm a mum.
I have a baby. Just because he's not here with me, like I still have one.
100%. And I'm so happy because I got to take my baby home. Like my first Mother's Day was spent in the NICU, so that was an experience in itself. So we did ourselves up pretty and thought, let's still make this special, and we got cuddles that day. So Britt and I would always, just because the kangaroo care is so massive, be like, there was a competition going at that time. I don't know if you still do it.
That's right now.
Yeah, that is going on, Kangaroo Care Month in May.
Yeah, well that one we were like, let's put down all our hours. So
Competition.
What's the longest we could hold them for? 6 hours between cares. We're going to do that. We don't need to drink any water. We don't need to go to the toilet. We're going to sit here with our babies.
So when you got discharged from special care, what happened after that? Like, did you go to any appointments? What did you do?
Yeah, so we had to continue doing the eyes, which is the worst. Because of the high level of oxygen that premature babies get, they can turn blind because of that. So they test their eyes every 2 weeks, and every time he'd have his eyes tested, they would dilate his eyes to be able to see behind them. And every time he got his eyes dilated, it was a bad day because his numbers would drop, his bodies would increase. He was just not happy. He's so strong, which is a lot of the guilt for me too, because of my history. It wasn't a Tatum problem why he was born early, it was a me. It was a me thing. So, and I look at being able to carry my second baby for so much longer, only 11 weeks longer, but still that's massive.
Yeah, that is
massive. So I think I'm always going, what did I do differently back then? And there's nothing, and there's no explanation.
And that's the thing, like nothing that you did put you into prem labour, do you know what I mean? And that's the case for so many mums. It just starts to happen, and it just happens, and there's nothing you could have done. You know, like you might be racking your brain thinking, oh, maybe I lifted something too heavy or did this, but you didn't, you know, and nothing you done would have put, you know, it would have happened either way, you know. And I think like really taking that guilt off yourself, I think is really important, because I think sometimes you just take it all on as mums, and after hearing so many stories like what we do in the NICU, honestly nothing you could have done would have stopped it. It just sounded like your body was just going to do it.
It was going to do it.
It was just going to do it.
He was coming. whether he liked it or not. And he took so long to get, and then once his soul was on this earth, he was coming out. It was like I do have to think that spiritual side of it as well.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. And then taking him home, he was on oxygen for 3 months. But like I said, I was getting times where I would take his little things off his face and give him time off it, because I knew, like, I was a NICU nurse. Like, I graduated when I left. I knew, even still, like, to the hospital, if like he's sick or if we have to take him back to the hospital, I'm like, they're trying to tell me and stuff, like, I know. It's so good.
You're all over it.
I know what that means. I know the signs of working hard to breathe. I know all those signs. And it is crazy. Like, I always say, I love both of my kids, but I am obsessed with Tatum. Like, he is.
You know him down to a T.
I know everything down to a T. He gets a little tug in his neck still. He gets a little tug, and I'm like, he's gonna get sick. He's about to get sick. So, yeah.
Did he get sick much in that first time that you brought him home? Like, did he have like a lot of lung issues in the first couple of years as well? Like, if he got sick, did he get really sick, or was he quite a well baby?
He was both. When he was well, he was well. When he was sick, he was sick.
Yeah.
So he did actually get RSV and pneumonia in his first year, and was popped back into the PICU for a couple of days. So he was on high flow. Thankfully, didn't have to be intubated again.
Amazing.
But he was stuck on high flow again for a while, and he was so sick. And he needed me then. So I always I do compare the two experiences with the NICU and the PICU times, because NICU, I was helpless. I couldn't do anything. And he didn't know. I mean, he knew me, but like when he was sick during that time, it was horrendous, and he just wanted mummy, and I didn't rest that time. Where at least I was going home in the NICU.
Looking after yourself a bit more, whereas you couldn't.
I couldn't, and I was, we got sick as well too, more COVID times. But he got sick a bit.
What was it like being back in hospital with all the alarms
Horrible.
again, and
Horrible.
meeting all new people, because you wouldn't have met anyone in the PICU before? So, like, what was that like?
We were prepared. We were told, look, he's probably going to have a couple of hospital stays throughout his first 5 years. We were prepared for a lot more than what he has had though. So he has developed a bit of asthma as well. But what it was like going back there was not nice. It was not nice. Every time, I think sometimes I was overly protective too. Like, any little thing, I'd take him to the hospital. So, and I wanted them to be familiar with him. I don't know, so he'd get like a little bit of a chest infection, and I'd be like, he's got to go to the hospital, and just to make sure he's okay.
Still, be safe than sorry.
Still now, like, he'll scrape his knee, I'm like, we've got to go to the hospital. Boys are obsessed with Chris, and Chris is obsessed with them. And there's no question I chose the right daddy.
Good.
Definitely.
Because he was, even in the NICU, I remember
I loved him. He was so good.
He was always there, and he was always had all the right questions, and
I think too, because he like loved you, and he looked after you, and you could really see that. So it just like, I don't know, it just makes a difference, and you'll love him so much.
Isn't it funny how when you have a baby and you see your partners become dads, you're like, oh, they're really good men. Thank God. And a NICU journey changes everybody, but it didn't change Chris. It's still, he's still the same. Like, he's still the best dad ever. And like, sometimes I feel like, do you having such a traumatic thing happen to him, would it change how he is? And it hasn't whatsoever at all. He doesn't like to talk about it. I know Tatum's first birthday was a really hard time for Chris. He kind of went into a bit of a sad moment, and it just kind of him thinking back again. He still can't look at photos, because Tatey now, he's 4 and like crazy, and he's very interested in looking at himself and learning about his birth. And Tatum and I can sit there for an hour looking at his birth stuff, and Chris will not.
Probably because like, he was so strong for you.
He was.
And also, like, everybody does deal with trauma differently. And like, it is a traumatic experience, so maybe Chris just prefers not to just have to see all of it.
Don't why blame me? I don't blame him at all. Like, it was so hard. And men don't need to. They
don't want to get sad. They
Yeah.
don't want to cry. They don't want anything to like force them to cry.
Yeah, and I think as a woman too, like we're prepared. We've been through like female things. We hear stories where men I don't think really do.
They don't get that opportunity to be like sad and.
No. And there's like honestly there's no one that Chris could relate to. Like I'm so lucky I've got Britt and you girls. Where Chris has got there's no one that we know.
Yeah. We don't talk about that stuff.
He is the one that people go to for that strength as well. So obviously it has changed him then. It's built that strongness for him.
Yeah.
He's the person that everyone goes to for dad advice.
Just that is very special as well. Like that is very special that everybody's going to him and like it would make him feel very like happy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And proud of himself.
Yeah. He's very proud of himself and his boys.
Also, so you went on to have another baby.
I did.
So did you go through IVF again?
I did. And I fell pregnant straight away. First go with him.
Were you prepared for the long run?
I put it off. Yeah. I put it off for a long time. And we were trying. I kept having cancelled cycles again because the bleeding for me was still an issue. Yeah. And I put it off, and also I didn't have my heart in it as well, so cycles were getting cancelled. We never got to a transfer, and then one day like Chris was like, what's going on? We had a chat, and I'm like, I am terrified to do this again. Like, why are we doing this when I've got Tatum? He's perfect. Why go again? And our thing is we need to give Tatum a bestie. He needs it, and they're such besties.
He's already got a bestie.
That's his sister. Oh, his roommate. So funny. Yeah, so we did go back for another cycle and fell pregnant straight away, and it was Reid. And that pregnancy was horrendous because of the fear, the anxiety. A lot of people talk about like getting to 24 weeks and that sigh of relief. Did I have a sigh of relief? No, because after that was uncharted territory.
Yes.
And I still seen what happens until like they're full-term babies. So
just because you're born at an older age doesn't mean you're out of the woods.
No. And I was so closely monitored at Reid. So it was every little nip, every little anything, I was like straight up to the doctor, getting checked over. I actually got a cervical cerclage put in, so I stitched in my cervix at 14 weeks, which stayed strong. I was on progesterone pessaries my whole pregnancy. I didn't come off them until the week before I had him. So I was very closely monitored. The 20-week scan, everything was all good, and then I was monitored weekly pretty much after 20 weeks. And yeah, he was good. What brought him on early was I started to threaten labour, and because of the stitch, they don't want you to go into labour, and because of how I had Tatum too, he was a classical cesarean, so there's bigger risks of rupturing if I go into labour. So, and it was the best decision that we did at that time because it got inside of me and I was a mess. So bowels were stuck to everything again, scarring was stuck. It was a pretty hectic surgery for Reid's birth. I developed infections after his. He came out beautiful, healthy. He was on high flow for 12 hours. But me, I nearly got put to sleep. Because it was just a bit of a complicated, long surgery.
How long was it? So that was during the C-section. So he came out okay.
He came out within 10 minutes. Perfect. Took him away.
And then
I was still out for 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So she removed a whole heap of scarring. So because I was cut vertically. So the scarring from that was bad. So everything was stuck to that. So before she went in, I was told, look, be prepared to get put to sleep because if your bowels are stuck, it's going to be something that we need to go in, like surgery. It's going to be a bit more of a complication. So thankfully that didn't happen.
Did they have a general surgeon in there as well? So did they have your OB and...
No, they didn't, which is surprising. Now that I think about it, no, they didn't. So she must have been confident.
They might have been talking to people in the background and said, if we need you, come, but
So it was actually a conversation with the whole high risk doctors team. Apparently they had a big meeting about it, and from my birth with Tatum and my symptoms that were happening, they were surprised that he wasn't born at 34 weeks. Yeah. So the fact that we got to 35 weeks was massive, and he was 35 and 1. And my recovery from Reid was a lot more hectic. Yeah. And the pregnancy itself, I was bedridden for most of it. Wow. So just because of the cyclage and the circumstances, it was better to be safe than sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That whole time was pretty scary. Yeah.
And you had a toddler as well, so
I did have a toddler. I did, and I was still picking him up. Like I couldn't not. I couldn't not. I was still everything for him. Yeah.
How was the special care nursery experience? I know you were only there for like a little bit.
With Reid or Tatum?
With Reid, but like with having Tatum, a toddler.
It was like a breeze.
It was a breeze?
It was a breeze. It still sucked.
Yeah.
But it was, it was. He was like a full-term baby.
Yeah.
So he was only just need a little bit of oxygen, just some bit of high flow for about 10 to 12 hours. The next day I come in and it was off.
Oh, beautiful. That's so good.
Yeah, that was so good. To be able to have a baby that didn't have anything on their face. Yeah. That was a completely different thing. Yeah. And it was just more so getting him to feed. Yeah. Was all his.
So when did you get to take Reid home? How old was he?
He was 36 weeks. Tatum we brought home at 6, the day before his due date. 39 and 6 he was. So
that's special to spend the due date at home. That's so
the next
nice.
day, and you know what? I took his little his stickers off and I changed them myself that day. This is my first day home on my own doing them, so I was like, I'm going to change them and have a quick photo shoot without anything on his face.
And what about when they met, Reid and Tatum?
Oh my gosh, they're so obsessed with each other. when Reid and Tatum met, he was just beside himself. He's the most beautiful, caring boy. He's got the oldest soul. He is so wise. He is so nurturing. So I don't know if that's a Prem thing or if that's just a Tatum thing, but he is, with Reid, the most beautiful big brother you could ever wish for. Even when he first held him, he was like, what's this on his face? He had an YouTube and this is a baby, he got born. And he was pushing his cot around, and Reid was on the he had the UV lights for jaundice a bit too, and Tatum was always so into it, but I couldn't have Tatum too much at the hospital because he was 3 years old and just crazy. But when we got him home, just cuddles, always. Even now, Reid is obsessed with Tatum. Tatum is obsessed with Reid. They're best friends, and it's the best thing I could have ever given both of them was each other. Yeah,
that's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. And because I'm thinking about back up, I wasn't going to. I was after having Tatum. That was it. I wanted more kids always, but
you didn't want to go through that.
I didn't want to go through that again. And I was like, surely lightning's not going to strike twice. We done it once, we could do it again. And this time we knew better. We knew the signs and the what stuff. So I was taking more precautions with myself, and best thing I ever did.
So tell us about what kind of appointments did he need in the first year or two, like physio, OT, speech.
Hated them.
What did he need?
I was trying to forget that.
No, I did. I had forgot about them, but it's so he had to have physio, but it was more just a precaution to make sure that he was okay. Then they would grade him, which I hated because I was always like, just be positive about it. I've always just thought positivity, I didn't want anything to be a negative influence on him. So it was always like, he's not doing this yet, he's not doing that yet. But because they were taking into his not corrected age, so I was like, who are you comparing my baby to?
So they were taking him his actual age, not what he was supposed to be.
His actual age, yeah. Even once he was 2 as well. So he walked at 14 months corrected.
That's so
and to
good.
me that's
there's so many kids that
prepared.
don't walk until 18 months, 19,
and
20 months, and then not prems.
I know. He honestly, he never skipped a beat. He was a bit slower with crawling. It was 10 months.
But probably because he didn't need to crawl. He had everyone to hold him.
He did. Reid was the same. He didn't crawl till late either. So I think it's our baby issue, not a prem.
Yeah.
So being premature has never been a cloud over Tatum's development at all. His physio appointments were sucky because they're like, he needs to be doing this, he needs to be doing that, and then I'm overthinking, overanalyzing, questioning, like obsessing and thinking, whose baby are we comparing him to?
Yeah.
Does he need to be having this? Do I need to be looking at speech things? He does have a bit of a lisp now, but I did as a kid too.
Yep.
So all of his things are normal.
Yep.
They're not like cerebral palsy or, you know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't look at him and think he was born at 24 weeks.
Really?
No, you wouldn't.
No.
I always felt like he had that peanut-shaped head, but by the time he was like 6 months corrected, his head fully came into a beautiful shape. Yeah. No, I don't think his prematurity is never going to be a personality trait. Anyway.
Is he small compared to the other kids?
No, he's huge.
Yeah. He looks
He's
tall.
so big.
Yeah.
Actually, that's something that I thought about too. I'm going to keep Tatum back from school a year later because he was born in April and due in August.
So he would have been,
Yeah, and that's a conversation I did have with a couple of other prem mums and thought, what are you guys doing? But I do want him to always thrive.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that...
And what's a year at the end of
What's
the day?
a year? Like he's
you may
6.
as well, yeah.
Did you take him home breastfeeding?
No. So I didn't get to breastfeed him. I pumped. I pumped with him.
And bottles.
And bottles, yeah. I think because it was... See, he had the hernia as well. The hernia was his intestines going into his... scrotum? Is that what it is? Yeah. So they were closely monitored throughout from 28 weeks onwards, and they were always able to be pushed back up. There was nothing any craziness about it, but they did need to be repaired. So the holes needed to be sewn up. Holes came down, and the intestines went back up. So we always knew that he was going to have that surgery, and it was always when he was on subnasal oxygen, when he was stronger, just before he was going to come home. So we knew that was happening. That was horrible. Him being wheeled away, and he had the little scrubs on, little gown. Yeah. And because they don't get put to sleep either, it's just done through spinal. They all said that Tatum was just laying and looking around at the lights, and they repaired that, and everything was fantastic. He did have to have a couple of checkups on that to make sure that they were still there, but he did have 2 little nicks on the other side of his top of his belly that are gone, completely gone now.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, that surgery to bring him home, we kind of like pushed for that to come a little bit faster.
I wanted to ask you as well, when you were having your C-section with Reid, was the option then to do a hysterectomy at the same time?
No, because I thought I was going to want to have another baby.
You wanted more? Yeah.
That was actually a question that my surgeon did ask me. She popped her head over. This was before I knew all the complications that were in there. She popped her head over and goes, "Do you think you want to have another baby?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." She went, "I think we get you another doctor." So at that point I was like, okay, maybe a third isn't an option.
Yeah.
So she I read between the lines there. But after having Reid, it was probably the sickest I have ever been.
Yeah.
So the pain just was through the roof.
Yeah.
So because of all the scarring from having Tatum, plus I did have an endometriosis removal before I fell pregnant with Reid. So I had a laparoscopy and excision done in September last year. They removed a whole heap of endometriosis. They pretty much classified it like a stage 3, and it was like a raincoat, he described it, over all of my organs down below.
My goodness.
So over all of my uterus, fallopian tubes, bowels, bladder.
Yeah. Just everything.
So
really.
that was probably a big reason why I fell pregnant so quickly with Reid as well.
Because you've gotten rid of all of that inflammation. Yeah.
And my fallopian tube was, sorry, straight at you. My fallopian tube was twisted. Like 4 times over as well. So even
Like
untwisted, and my left side had always been an issue as well. So after having Reid, I bled pretty much for this entire year, just gone. So constantly in bed, constantly. I wasn't wasn't able to do much. There was probably like a few months there where I was able to get out and do stuff.
Yep.
But the bleeding, the pain just got too much for me. So the bleeding is adenomyosis, which is the same as the endometrium that is quite thick. So I had a really thick uterus. So the decision was, look, we're going to try and put a Mirena in to see if that helps. The Mirena did not help. I had a Mirena put in after I had Tatum as well to try for the same thing. And I had it taken out 3 days later.
Really?
Yeah, just from the pain. And my uterus was trying to get rid of it. It was like, it was not a thing for me. So, but I thought, like, I'm optimistic. Let's try again. We did. I had it done at the start of April. And she did some biopsies. The biopsies come back abnormal, so which could lead to cancerous stuff, which a lot of women with endometriosis do find. They get told, like, you could have, it's a higher risk to have getting cancer down the track. So they came back abnormal. I think it was like 3 steps until it could get cancerous. So she said, look, we think that it's probably a good thing. I was going in to see her, like, take it out now, like, give me a hysterectomy, than my first appointment with her. So the fact that she offered it, she was so amazing. She had a whole my whole history in front of her on my first appointment, and she's gone, how are you living like this? Like, the amount of adhesions that I had to have removed before falling pregnant with Reid, and she's like, you are so lucky to have had babies.
You are.
So she said, are you finished having your family? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I don't want to do that again now. Plus the year I just had, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to be mum to my boys. I've got 2 beautiful, healthy boys. Why go back and risk it a third time?
And like now you can start to feel healthy as well, you know, like not bleeding so much, because it's exhausting. Like, it is so tiring, and like you just feel wiped out all the time. Like, social events, you don't feel like you can go because you're constantly bleeding, or you know, like you can't go to the swimming pool or the beach or whatever because
I don't do swimming.
like you can't do any of that.
No,
you know? It really takes a lot out of you.
It does. So that was me. I was like, okay, let's just do this. My family, because as much as it is on me, it's the people around me as well. So because having 2 kids, it's not just me that has to be taken care of now. So when I'm sick, everyone around me, it's such a burden. I know everyone says it's not a burden, Rikki, but it really is. Like, having a sick relative, someone that you love, that was my biggest draw card, because seeing Chris, I'm like, this poor man, his wife is taking him through so much. He deserves to have a good life now too. My kids deserve to have a healthy mum, and my mum has just had a sick kid her whole life pretty much. So let's do this for not just me but for everyone around me. I had my hysterectomy done. I'm 4 weeks post-op now. So I got my uterus, fallopian tubes, cervix, and my left ovary removed.
So you've still got your right ovary.
I've still got my right ovary. So the reason why that was removed is because it was stuck underneath. Everything was stuck to the outside of my tummy, left side of my tummy. So bowels, fallopian tubes. She couldn't even see my fallopian tubes. So she couldn't even see my ovary. So, and all the scarring and the endo around it. She's like, she actually called Chris halfway through and just had to get consent to say, I think it's the best thing. Still feel really good about it. As long as I don't have to go into too early menopause, I'm happy to take the right one out if it needs to come out too.
So with just having the one ovary, are they just going to be monitoring your hormone levels now to see whether you need any replacement or anything like that?
So plan is no, don't need to have any HRT. Well, I've had a couple of like post-op infections, which was, it's me, like, of course I'm going to get something. It's not going to be straightforward. I've had like a slight bleed because I've got 2 kids, which has probably pushed my recovery a bit further, because I've got 2 young kids that need to be picked up and cuddled all the time when you're not supposed to be. You're not supposed to vacuum either. But
it needs to be done.
It needs to be done, and that's it. So I've just moved like a suture. That's just given me a bit of bleeding, but other than that, it's been amazing. I'm not bleeding.
That's so
for the first time in my whole adult life.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good. You just feel so much better.
I feel like I've just got pink cheeks again.
Yeah,
you know, like
there's
I've
colour
got
in
colour.
your face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, and I've so far not had any pain.
Yep.
So all of that's gone,
That's
hopefully,
amazing.
and has less things to grow on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now it's time to just focus
Heal.
on being
Be
healthy.
happy.
Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us. Like, we have loved listening to you
It's
and
been a real
Tatum's
therapy.
story and
Yeah.
Reid's story. It's been great. And you know what? Like, it was 4 years ago, and it's so good to see how much things have changed in 4 years.